legislature, led by the Speaker of Parliament, and the judiciary, led by the Chief Justice. This is per the Constitution of 1995, but alas, just as the Constitution separates administrative power to the three arms, the same Constitution provides that the President should choose the Chief Justice, and although the Speaker of Parliament is elected by members through a party caucus, some political observers believe the President still has a big say on who gets to become Speaker.
He cannot elect the head of institution of Parliament. He can lobby, he can do what, but that mandate remains with the members of Parliament.
So he can control Parliament through the parliamentary caucus?
The norm is that the President's word and the decision is final.
On Wednesday, November 16th, 2005, business was usual in and around the High Court in Kampala when suspects alleged to belong to the People's Redemption Army, PRA rebel group, appeared in court set to ask for bail. Presiding Justice Edmund Sempa Lugaizi was to announce whether the suspects could apply for bail. Photojournalist James Akena was there.
The men in black t-shirts, they had black t-shirts, black guns, and wearing army trousers came also at the court, and they surrounded basically the entire High Court premises from inside and outside, so they were dotted all over the place.
Judges and lawyers protested the raid.
There was a lay down of tools by the judiciary body, and I think it was court named Enough is Enough. The following day, the same individual showed up.
This would not be the last time we would see the forces under the executive interfering directly with the court process. On November 7th, 2017, Andrew Felix Kawesi murder suspects got brutally arrested by plainclothed men right after they had been granted bail. And again on September 11th, 2019, the same suspects were rearrested, this time with their lawyer also taken in at the gates of the courts. On September 27th, 2017, security operatives stormed Parliament, beating up members and bundling them up.
Something like 5 minutes after the Speaker had gone out, I saw some plainclothed security guards entering.
This time too, the Speaker of Parliament and MPs protested this raid, with many calling it an attack on the legislature.
But I don't think whether the President up to now has responded to the Speaker's letter.
Later, during a Constitutional Court hearing of an appeal by anti-age limit activists and politicians in Mbale, the Uganda People's Defence Forces admitted that the army indeed stormed Parliament to maintain order. The same army is by law commanded by the holder of the office of the President.
He doesn't have the authority to fire, but the minister does. But the minister is part of the executive. So by implication, when the President listens, his extended arm, the minister, should listen.
Therefore, the problem in Uganda, it is not that the presidency has a lot of power. It is because Museveni has grabbed powers from every institution of the state.
Recently, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in a show of authority like never seen before, fired and hired in what was seen as a clampdown on underperforming executives. Chinobe says system failure is to blame for the over-involvement of the president.
Somebody cannot sense that there is graft in Civil Aviation Authority. Instructions have to come from the president to fire and hire.
The immense power given to the office of the president by the Constitution could be the reason why all who seek to change anything in the country only see the presidential seat as the only way to change.
Either wait for President Museveni to leave the political stage, and then we'll go into this process, or wait for President Museveni to say, I'm not going to run again. I want to preside over reforms of the national constitution. You get it? We'll put in place a new constitution that will bring in another president. Without doing one of the two, we'll be wasting time.
The power accorded to the country's top office has led to many decisions and changes directly looked at as a show of force and authority by the president, and some of these changes have been to the constitution itself.
I vote no. I vote yes.
Take, for example, The constitutional amendment of 2018 that scrapped the presidential age limit was looked at by some as solely benefiting the president. Is the constitution flawed with regard to how much power the office of the president was accorded?
Because the NRM has a huge and comfortable majority in the parliament, it did not stop them from recognizing the principle that we entrenched in the constitution. They dismantle the term limit. They dismantle the age limit.
The constitutions of Uganda, including the 1995 constitution, have not stood the test of time. And there are very many reasons for that. Among them is that these constitutions are made by politicians, not statesmen.
In the words of former Chief Justice Benjamin Udoki, the role and responsibility of the main organs of the state are far different but closely connected. None of them can work properly on its own. They are like three cooking stones under a pot. They all seem to be standing apart from each other, yet they all support the pot. Each of the organs of the state has a distinct role and purpose, but the prime idea behind checks and balances is the prevention of monopoly of power. Parliament and the courts of judicature are therefore the only safeguard with veto powers against presidential decisions by law.
Parliament has more power than the president, but Parliament has ceded its own power, surrendered, because many MPs who are brought here, they think it is Museveni who has brought them.
I'm one of the people that believe that Parliament is the biggest burden our country has had. It is totally useless.
The Speaker of Parliament is at the same time the interim Vice Chairperson.
We came this far because most of the members of Parliament we have are very weak.
Most of the issues that concern us as Parliament are issues that concern our individual or respective constituencies. So Parliament is still very, very relevant.
The courts are also not spared from criticism.
And some of these members of the judiciary, like the Supreme Court, who would be very objective, some of them are looking up to becoming the next Chief Justice, right? So when you are there in that situation, you keep balancing your cards.
It is common knowledge that most of the justices and judges being appointed are what he calls his cadre judges.
And so that needs to be sorted, because the judicial system is the extended arm of the citizens. All these other systems are secondary to the judiciary.
As we were debating the constitution, the training, the cadre training was going on throughout the country, including school children.
Our law does not have a problem. The law is okay. But we need to strengthen institutions.
It is an issue of allowing a transition. PMSM is not going to be there forever.
It is no secret now that the office is indeed powerful. And as Uganda gears up for yet another election months from now, we await to see who will hold this power when the ballots have fallen. Daniel Lutaya, NBS, Live at 9.
Did you know that by around this time, political parties should be finding flag bearers for different elective positions according to the revised electoral roadmap?
And this particular group of persons includes special interest groups, which are persons with disabilities, youth, women, and as well as the elderly. Let's have a look at this report that is looking at the new roadmap for scientific elections.
According to the new Electoral Commission roadmap, between the 22nd of June and 21st of July, all political parties should have selected flag bearers for special interest groups. These special interest groups include youth members of parliament from all regions, women members of parliament who are elected from every district across the country, people with disabilities from all regions, and the elderly persons. We are yet to see which political party has held primaries for selection of these categories of aspirants.
While this time political parties should be finding flag bearers for elective positions for special interest groups, some political parties are still opposing the revised electoral roadmap. They're saying they're not going to take part in the scientific elections.
Well, with that case in play, the question here remains, how prepared are Ugandans for scientific, virtual, digital elections?
There's been debate online on whether these elections should be scientific, and people have been saying that it is media pushing the agenda that it is scientific.
And not...
Is there debate there that really that scientific or not?
I think for everyone in the world, this will be the first kind of election we're going to have.
Where there are no mass rally campaigns, and they're going to be done digitally. So that's scientific.
I noticed that a couple of journalists were a tad bit disappointed that they're
not going to be on the campaign trails. Yeah, I mean, it brings the adrenaline, the rush, being in the mood, being on the run all the time. This is what has happened here. We're moving on to the next district. 90 days on the campaign trail. It's quite exciting. So for the journalists that were looking forward to that, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And NBS Live at 9 starts now. The NBS Political Command Center preparing you for what you should be expecting in the 2021 general elections. Up next is the headlines of stories you should be expecting tonight.